Basically, um, my project is about the oral history of the 1980 Lakers, right?
Cool, cool.
Yeah, and basically what Miss Lewis told me was that you're a big sports fan, so I just want to get your take and your input about it. Basically,
First, you gotta ask the basic questions. What's his
what's
name?
I'm gonna do? Oh, what's your name? What's your name?
Oh, my name is Kevin.
I can call you Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
It don't matter. It don't matter. You call me whatever, man.
Okay, Mr. Lewis. How is it? Like, how is the dynamic of sports in the 1980s in terms of NBA?
1980s, that's when I was more born. But from what I remember, in the 1980s, basketball is not what it is now. Like, with its televised and everything like that. Like, they had to fight to get a network and things like that. And the NBA and the ABA was just coming together. So, in that time frame, basketball wasn't the biggest sport. It was more like baseball. And football was on the come up too. But really, baseball had all the TV deals and things like that. You know what I mean? So the 80s basketball, like, people watched basketball, but it wasn't what it is now. You know what I mean? Like, for what?
Well, since my topic is about the 1980s Lakers, was that your team back then, or you had a different team in the 80s?
Well, I started watching basketball more closer to the 90s. So if my team was really, I like Jordan, to be honest with you. So that was my guy. So it wasn't really the Lakers, but I respected what they did.
Yeah, I see the focus.
Oh, you messing up my interview, Liz. Come on, man. Nah, but my team was more the Bulls, but I respected the Lakers. Like a Magic 6'8" point guard, he was, you know what I mean? They would show.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Yeah,
Like
so tell me about your opinion about one of the biggest rivalries in NBA history, the Lakers and the Celtics.
The Lakers and the Celtics was a great rivalry. I'm gonna mention what helped the NBA really take off was those rivalries. Because remember, like back then, baseball was the sport. You know what I mean? And basketball, they were just coming together. They got a lot of the good players like Dr. J and them from the ABA, and they came together to form the NBA, like Iceman, George Gervin. So it was a great rivalry, and there was a lot of undertones to the rivalry too. You know, let's be realistic. Like, you know, they had things like White Men Can't Jump, the big white hype, like when Ali fought Whitman and them. So really, in Boston, you know, even in recent times, you know, Boston is always in some ways tied in with racism. So I don't, you know what I mean? They kind of had, that was kind of the undercurrent too. So when you had Lakers and Celtics, you find a lot of inner city people from, you know, urban inner city people really wasn't rocking with Boston like that, even though that was an East Coast team. You know what I mean? So a lot of people like the Lakers, you know, you had Kareem, Magic, and, you know, a lot of people didn't like the Great White Hype, which is Larry Bird. So it was a great rivalry, not only because they were two great teams, it was kind of some extra stuff going on too, you know.
What impact?
You know, suburbs, in the city, things like that.
Well, since you're neutral on this topic, based on like the players and the coaches, how did the coaches of both the Lakers and the Celtics, how did they have an impact on their players? Because I know that, you know, Lakers, they had Phil Jackson, and Celtics, they had different coaches depending on the time period. So just tell me about that.
Are we talking about the 80s?
Yeah, in the 80s.
I can't, I'm trying to, it slips me who Boston's coach was at the time.
Yeah.
But I know the Lakers, there was a lot of talk. Pat Riley was the coach for the Lakers back then.
Exactly.
And there was a lot of talk about Magic Johnson getting the prior coach fired. I couldn't remember who the prior coach was. So remember, Magic came in the league in the 1980s, in 1980, and they won a championship right away with Magic. So, I mean, he was like the face of the league. You can't go against the face of the league. So Magic had enough pull to get one of the coaches fired at that time. Pat Riley had the mindset. They were a very finesse team, the Lakers. What was interesting was Boston, they played Boston the first time around, and they smoked Boston. So what Boston did the second time around, I can't remember who Boston's coach was at the time. They decided to mix it up, make it ugly, and when they did that, they found success. You know what I mean? They roughed Lakers up. But it was you can look it up on YouTube. There's a classic where Kurt Rambis got just totally clotheslined in midair, like with the goggles on and everything. You know what I mean? So
the hardwood classics. Classics, yeah.
So that's when the NBA, the 80s is very important because that's when the NBA found its foundation as a let's say like a sports superpower. You know, like when I say a sports superpower, you know, there's usually 4 major sports. You know, your basketball, baseball, football, and I guess hockey in a sense. So basketball shot up the ranks with the 80s was the foundation of that. A lot happened in the 80s. You got your 3-point line. They merged the NBA and the ABA at the end of the 70s. Then you have this great rivalry. You get this kid, Magic Johnson. Magic and Bird actually played in the college championship like in 79. People saw that. So when you get that kind of rivalry that just people see them play as kids, and then all of a sudden you seeing these kids play as adults, you know, people are like, you know, it's an attachment. You see somebody play, like LeBron, for example. People seen him at a high school, ESPN was showing everything. You know what I mean? That's why people are attached to him as well. I mean, so the 80s is the foundation.
But thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. I have to wrap it up in such short notice. Thank you so much for your opinion. And you know, tune into the finals tomorrow night.
Yeah, I will. Go to state.
Yeah,
Go for Cleveland. Go for Cleveland. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
That's why he's my student. I'll talk to